From Mortal to Divine, a Cultivation Epic, Episode 4, Drinking Alcohol. On this day, Erzwang's family sent over an old hen to thank Chen Lagu and his son. "Dad, I'll handle these chores. I'm afraid your skills might ruin this chicken." Although Chen Xiaobian felt that this thank you gift was a bit light, their family hadn't seen meat on the table for a long time, and they were actually quite eager for it. They immediately stewed the chicken. Chestnuts. This is called braised chestnut chicken. Wow, Dad, this smells amazing. What did you put in it? Believe it or not, Chen Lagu not only understands alchemy but also culinary arts. When it came out of the pot, the whole house was filled with the aroma of meat. Wow, it smells so good. I can't resist. By now, Chen Xiaobian's mouth was already watering, and he couldn't wait to pick up his chopsticks, but Chen Lagu's chopsticks tapped his hand firmly. My bad, you go ahead, you rascal, no manners." Chen Xiaobian immediately realized that since his father worked hard to prepare the meal, he should be the one to start eating first. Chen Lagu didn't hesitate either. He picked up the drumstick and chicken wing and put them on his own plate. "Dad, where are you going?" "Never mind, you can start eating. You should dig in." What Chen Xiaobian didn't expect was that after his dad took these two items, he didn't eat them himself. Instead, he carried them out of the room. Chen Xiaobian saw his dad whistle after going out. Then he placed the plate in the corner of the yard and even poured a bowl of white wine next to it. "Dad, what are you doing? Is today a special holiday?" Chen Xiaobian couldn't understand. Today wasn't a festival or holiday. Who was his dad making this offering to? "Don't ask. Weren't you curious to hear about how Erzwang's dad encountered a monster while drinking and nearly lost his life?" "Dad, are you willing to tell me?" However, Chen Lagu didn't take the opportunity to tell the story. He poured himself a glass of wine. "Well, I'll tell you about this." After taking a sip of wine, he began telling Chen Xiaobian the story of how Erzwang's dad encountered a monster. About 10 years ago, when Chen Xiaobian was still young, Erzwang's dad was quite famous in the village. During farming downtime, he would go to the city to sell wild products. Even the city folks were quite interested in these rural items. Once, Erzwang's dad went to the city to sell wild products and met a willing customer. He made a good profit, bought some wine and side dishes, and headed back to the village. However, on the way, he always felt like there was something following him. He strongly felt those eyes on his back. However, despite turning back several times, he didn't see anyone. In the end, he didn't think much of it and stumbled into the village. Lao Luo opened the door. "It's me." Instead of going to his own home, he brought the wine and dishes to the house of the village school principal, Lao Luo, behind the village. These two had a good relationship, and since Lao Luo's house was usually empty, they didn't need to worry about the timing of their visits. "Take a look. How's it going? Oh, did you strike it rich today?" Speaking of these two, they usually like to get together and drink. However, Erzwang's dad could handle more alcohol, while Principal Lao, though fond of drinking, had his limits. Today, he met a big spender who paid a high price without haggling. No wonder even the iron rooster laid eggs today. Erzwang's dad was quite the drinker, usually starting with a whole bottle of liquor. Lao Luo, on the other hand, typically had half a gin of wine. Although the two couldn't keep up together, Erzwang's dad enjoyed chatting with Principal Lao while drinking, listening to his stories like listening to a book. "Tonight, let's have a good drink, my brother." One is for drinking, the other for chatting. The two became drinking buddies, often getting together for a drink. That day was no exception, and they quickly set up the table and started drinking. Today afternoon made over $100. Not bad at all. That day, Erzwang's dad earned money and was in a good mood. He opened 2 bottles of white wine, ready to have a good time. How about I retire in a while and join you for some action? You're an educated person. Can you hang out with us rough folks? Forget it. Principal Lau didn't handle much alcohol, sipping it bit by bit. Fortunately, the two were used to it. Erzwang's dad didn't push him to drink and happily drank more himself. Ah, so satisfying. However, Erzwang's dad could handle his alcohol, downing a glass in 2 sips. Right, come, have some roasted chicken. That day, Erzwang's dad went to a branch of a cooperative in the city and specially bought a plump roasted chicken to accompany the drinks. How's that? This flavor is the real deal. Not bad. This chicken must have been expensive, right? Because the two were enjoying the conversation while drinking. They were quite cheerful. Everything was quite normal that day. But trouble began after Principal Lau went out to the restroom and came back. What about the wife that Dahua talked to you about recently? The kids are grown up. You should consider it. When Principal Lau returned and sat down, he immediately started eating and drinking. Erzwang's dad initially didn't pay much attention, drinking his own wine and occasionally chatting with Lao Lu. What's wrong? Why are you suddenly quiet? However, even after speaking for a while, Principal Lau didn't respond. Erzwang's dad found it strange and raised his head to look, only to be stunned. Lao Lu, what's going on with you today? At this moment, Erzwang's dad noticed that Principal Lau was pouring wine for him. Normally, Lao Lu had a low tolerance for alcohol and never poured himself more. Moreover, the roasted chicken was placed in front of him. Not only that, Lao Lu lifted his cup, tilted his head back, and downed the whole glass of white wine in one go. You old man, your drinking capacity is really something today. What's going on? After downing that sip, Principal Lau immediately refilled his cup without saying a word in response to Erzwang's dad's questioning. Gradually, Erzwang's dad realized something was off. Principal Lau's behavior was extremely strange. His face held an eerie smile. He kept downing cups of wine, and then he lowered his head to voraciously gnaw at the roasted chicken. You see, Principal Lau was well known in the village as an educated person, with a typically composed demeanor. However, at that moment, he resembled a hungry wolf, just gripping and biting with his hands, not showing any signs of being a cultured individual. Hey, Lao Lu, you're really showing your true colors today. Although Erzwang's dad found Principal Lau's behavior very strange that night, he didn't think much of it and assumed he had just drunk too much and lost control. All right, take it easy. I won't compete with you. You're the one who's been assigned the role of the educated person. I, a rough guy, am not as refined as you. He could only watch as Principal Lau devoured the entire roasted chicken and continuously drank wine, while he himself nibbled on a piece of radish and exchanged a few cold remarks. At this moment, it was as if Principal Lau hadn't heard a thing. He picked up the bottle of wine and poured himself another glass. Aren't you a bit too intense? How about I give you the little that's left? Seeing that most of the 2 bottles of wine had ended up in Lao Lu's stomach, Erzwang's dad quickly lifted his own wine glass. Seeing how Principal Lau looked, he was afraid he'd try to snatch his glass. But just then, Erzwang's dad noticed that Principal Lau had poured the remaining drops of wine from the bottom of the glass into his mouth. Seeing this, Erzwang's dad's face was filled with astonishment. Locals had a custom. Leaving the bottom of the glass untouched was a sign of disrespect to the host. While Erzwang's dad was still in a daze, Principal Lau suddenly fell face first onto the table, making a thud sound and causing the dishes to clatter. Lao Lu, are you okay? What happened to you? This scared Erzwang's dad. Could it be that Lao Lu drank over a gin of white wine and passed out? If that were the case, he couldn't avoid getting involved. You're really lacking in spirit, acting like you've never seen alcohol and meat in your life. But with a pat on his back, Lao Lu wobbled and stood up. Erzwang's dad was relieved. It seemed Lao Lu had just drunk too much. Oh my, how did I fall asleep? "Ha! Why is the wine gone? Did you drink it? You? What are you pretending for?" What was even more exasperating was that after Lataluo got up, he not only didn't remember his voracious eating and drinking, but he also complained that Erzwang's dad had taken advantage of his sleep to eat the roasted chicken and hadn't left him any. No, you didn't have enough. Should I go buy more? Lao Luo, come on. Don't play these tricks with me. Even after waking up, Lao Luo not only didn't recall this excessive eating and drinking, but he also blamed Erzwang's dad for eating the roasted chicken while he was asleep, as if the person who had emptied the bottom of the glass wasn't him. "I don't care. You finished it this time. Next time, you owe me a drink." Okay, it won't be a problem." Both of them were somewhat muddled, and the conversation got confusing. The wine was gone, and they ended up dispersing. "Impossible. I don't have that ability." "You old guy, you're really good at pretending. You're much more intense than me when you actually start drinking." Just as Erzwang's dad stepped out of Lataluo's courtyard gate, he suddenly noticed a shadow by the base of the wall. "Whose dog is this? Ha! Wait. No." Under the moonlight, the two of them looked carefully and realized that it seemed like a large dog was lying there, fast asleep by the base of the wall. But upon approaching, it became clear that it wasn't a dog at all, but a large fox. As they got closer, a strong scent of alcohol hit them. "Looks like this thing is up to no good tonight. This is quite eerie." Both of them understood now. It turned out that the wine Principal Lao had consumed earlier ended up in this fox's stomach. It must have followed Erzwang's dad due to the smell of alcohol and roasted chicken, then climbed onto Principal Lao. "What should we do now? What should we do? Do you know how much a fox fur is worth?" Seeing that the fox was clearly drunk and behaving erratically, Principal Lao felt it was sinister, but Erzwang's dad, being more familiar with the value of items, had a crooked idea. "This thing is quite eerie. Can we really do this? What's there to fear? It's this drunk. I'll take responsibility for whatever happens." After Erzwang's dad had his wine drunk by Principal Lao, even if Lataluo was unwilling, he had to help. They spent the whole night securely tying up the large fox, hanging it from a tree in Erzwang's backyard, planning to skin it at dawn. Even though Erzwang's dad said he'd take responsibility, he never imagined that things would actually go wrong, and he probably couldn't handle it. In the middle of the night, Erzwang's mom suddenly heard Erzwang's dad let out a loud scream. She was scared and quickly got up to see, but by then, Erzwang's dad had already become quite abnormal. "Just drink a bit of wine, eat some meat. Why so ruthless?" At this point, he curled up, trembling all over, continuously muttering and cursing. He was saying things that shouldn't be said, like harming lives. "You want to take my life? You're courting death." As his body convulsed more and more violently, Erzwang's dad's breathing became intermittent, and his face turned blue and purple. "Uncle Chen, look at what's happened to Erzwang's dad." Erzwang's mom couldn't afford to delay, so she quickly got up to fetch Uncle Chen Lao Gu. When Uncle Chen Lao Gu arrived, Erzwang's dad was already in danger. His eyes were rolling back, froth covered his mouth, and he seemed to be just moments away from losing his life. Having learned that Erzwang's dad had tied up a large fox earlier that night, Uncle Chen Lao Gu had an idea. In the backyard of Erzwang's house, Uncle Chen Lao Gu saw the large fox. By this time, the large fox had woken up. Seeing someone approaching, it kept struggling, looking at Uncle Chen Lao Gu with a resentful and vicious gaze. Indulging in worldly pleasures and suffering a bit is only fair, but causing someone's death is a grave sin. Upon seeing the large fox bound like a dumpling, Uncle Chen Lao Gu found it somewhat amusing. He had heard and seen the fox's thieving ways before, but losing one's life over something like this was quite rare. Cultivation is not easy. From now on, behave well and go quickly. Uncle Chen Lao Gu wanted to get rid of the fox, but upon considering that it hadn't done anything too malicious apart from stealing and eating, he decided to let it go. If you want to eat and drink in the future, come find me at the west side of the village. The large fox had some experience as well. It realized that the current situation wasn't favorable and that it shouldn't provoke Uncle Chen Lao Gu. After giving Erzhuang's dad a few glances, it decided to let him go and turned to leave. Upon hearing Uncle Chen Lao Gu's final words, the large fox stood there for a while without moving. No one knew what it was thinking. Eventually, it disappeared into the forest. However, later on it did help me quite a bit. It became a friend and would come by regularly. Afterward, the large fox developed a conscience and truly assisted Uncle Chen Lao Gu with many things. You're not dumb, kid. So those things you took out were meant for it to eat. Hearing this, Chen Xiaobian finally understood. The food and wine his dad brought out were meant for the large fox. Huh. Dad, does that mean you are the legendary summoner? At this point, Chen Xiaobian suddenly realized, wasn't his dad using this wild spirit method to summon the large fox? This discovery nearly made Chen Xiaobian jump up in surprise. Well, technically, it was summoning. After all, Chen Xiaobian had heard quite mysterious things about these practices. He never thought his own dad would be involved. There's something outside. It's here. Just at that moment, the sound of dishes clinking came from the yard. The Chen family father and son looked toward the door. Chen Xiaobian noticed that the chicken and wine his dad had put out were now completely gone. They had been eaten without him realizing. It was then that Chen Xiaobian saw a large fox emerge from the darkness outside. The fox had black and yellow fur, and its eyes emitted a faint green light in the darkness. It was nodding toward Uncle Chen Lao Gu as if expressing gratitude. Dad, I heard that this summoning technique is quite powerful. That's right. Would you like to learn it? I can teach you. After finishing its meal, the large fox didn't linger. It turned and disappeared into the darkness. Can you even teach this? Isn't that like becoming a big shot? I'm a good-looking young man. Doing something like this is embarrassing. This skill can indeed be passed down. There are many ways to summon spirits, including divination and asking rice grains. Besides, you're far from being handsome enough for now. But the story of the summoner isn't over yet. In the next part, we'll provide more details. Under the locust tree shrine. Dad, we don't have any land. Why are you waking up so early? Come on, come out with me. Early in the morning, Chen Xiaobian was dragged out of bed by Uncle Chen Lao Gu. This left Chen Xiaobian, who considers sleeping his favorite hobby, full of resentment. About that, I asked you if you've considered inheriting the technique of summoning spirits. What do you think? As they walked along the village road, Uncle Chen Lao Gu brought up the matter of summoning the fox spirit that Xiaobian had let out last night. Dad, the summoning technique sounds powerful, but it seems like it's something only old folks do. I'm just a young guy, so it doesn't seem suitable. However, Chen Xiaobian had been thinking about venturing into the city. He believed that young people should go to the city to make their mark in the world. Walking around with the title of a spirit summoner might not be suitable at all. This summoning isn't as hackneyed as those swindlers' tricks in the world. The realm of immortals can provide you with a perspective beyond human understanding. Uncle Chen Lao Gu knew that Xiaobian wasn't easily swayed. He calmly explained the method and origin of summoning spirits to him. With the protection of the immortal realm, you can not only predict danger, but also establish connections with various wild spirits. Connections, what are they used for? Indeed, like father, like son. A few words from Uncle Chen Lao Gu piqued Xiaobian's interest. Back then, if it weren't for several immortal realms coming to help me, how could I have dealt with that demon who had fallen into depravity? Dad, what happened? Why is it so suspenseful? Seeing that Xiaobian was now intrigued, Uncle Chen Lao Gu decided to tell him a story about how he had dealt with a monster more than a decade ago. More than a decade ago, on a sunny day just like this, Uncle Chen Lao Gu took 5-year-old Chen Xiaobian outside. At that time, in a wasteland to the west of the village, stood a large locust tree that had been around for hundreds of years. The tree was as thick as 6 or 7 adults holding hands. Despite its age, it was still lush with leaves. The branches of the large locust tree were adorned with red cloth strips, tied by villagers from nearby villages over the past few hundred years. These cloth strips bore the names and birth dates of children, intended to pray for their longevity and growth, just like the tree itself. Beneath the tree, there was a small shrine that had been erected at an unknown time. Although it was called a shrine, it was only a few bricks tall. In front of the shrine was a stone slab used as an offering table. Whenever nearby villagers experienced strange illnesses, they would come to worship the tree god. It turned out that it really had some effect. This wasn't just a baseless claim. Under the tree was a slab of bluestone with a few small hollows. Clear droplets of water always collected in these hollows. If anyone had boils or other skin issues, washing with this water guaranteed a cure. Word of mouth spread, and the tree gained more and more fame. When we get there, you'll worship your godfather, and you won't get sick anymore. What's a godfather? Why do I have to worship him? Due to his special constitution, Chen Xiaobian had been weak and sickly since childhood. When Uncle Chen Lao Gu learned about the big tree, he decided to take him there to worship it as his godfather. Father and son arrived under the large tree and saw its impressive girth. It had indeed stood there for quite a long time. Uncle Chen Lao Gu was initially pleased and thought that the rumors among the villagers were true. Xiaobian, what's wrong with you? However, contrary to expectations, as soon as Chen Xiaobian reached the tree, he showed a look of extreme fear. He clung tightly to his father's clothes and hid behind him. Uncle Chen Lao Gu noticed that Xiaobian's eyes were not ordinary and became more attentive. With this heightened awareness, Uncle Chen Lao Gu also realized that, typically, trees cultivated for spiritual purposes would emit a fragrant woodsy scent. However, standing under this tree, there was no such scent. Instead, there was a faint, unpleasant odor. While he was still puzzled, Uncle Chen Lao Gu suddenly heard someone calling him from a distance behind him. Chen Lao Gu, come over here. Turning around, Uncle Chen Lao Gu saw an old man near the edge of the nearby woods, waving to him. The man was none other than Big Gang's father. Yes, Chen Lao Gu, are you thinking of having the child worship the locust tree as a godfather? It turned out that when Big Gang's father saw Uncle Chen Lao Gu and his son wandering under the tree, he guessed their purpose. But not wanting to offend the tree spirit, he could only wave them over from a distance. Don't worship it. Don't worship it. Don't ask anything here. Let's go home and talk. Big Gang's father was extremely superstitious and believed that it wasn't safe to speak there. He pulled the Chen father and son back to his home. Let me tell you, that tree spirit has not only lost its power, but it's also harming people. Who knows, it might have turned into a tree demon. Once they were back home, and Big Gang's father felt there was no more danger, he finally opened up. Who knows, how could a well-respected tree spirit turn into a tree demon? At that time, Xiaobian was still young and was only busy playing around with Big Gang, who was a year older than him, in the yard. He was completely unaware of what the two adults were talking about in the yard. In any case, many people have had misfortunes. In the past, everyone liked going there to seek cures and blessings. But look at who dares to go there now. With a comment from Big Gang's father, Uncle Chen Lao Gu also started to notice. Under the large locust tree, people used to make offerings and prayers frequently, making it a lively place. However, now it seemed eerie and desolate. What exactly happened that scared everyone so much? Uncle Chen Lao Gu was confused and asked for more details. Sigh, don't even mention it. I heard from others, but they were people who knew the whole story. They wouldn't casually spread rumors. Big Gang's father was easy to talk to, especially when he was chatting with Uncle Chen Lao Gu. When asked, he began sharing some of the things he had heard. Just a few months ago, a family from a neighboring village brought their child to worship the big locust tree as a godfather, hoping to make the child healthier. They followed the old customs, hanging the child's name and birth date on a branch, and having the child kowtow to the tree 3 times. Come on, use your godfather's sacred water to cleanse, expel any evil spirits. They wiped the water from the large blue stone under the tree on the child's forehead. With this, the ceremony of worshiping the godfather was completed. Don't worry, many people in our village have recognized the godfather. Mom, is this really okay? After the 3 of them completed the not-so-complicated ritual and made offerings, they took the child home, with only a little paper left behind. However, they didn't realize that worshipping the tree spirit as a godfather would not bring blessings, but instead invite disaster. Mom, what's wrong with Xiao Guang? When they returned that evening, the child fell seriously ill for no apparent reason. In just a few hours, a child who was lively and energetic turned weak and feeble. The child went through phases of clarity and confusion. He said he saw a pair of blood-red eyes staring at him from the big locust tree. That very night, before they could even rush him to the town's hospital, Xiao Guang died. The doctors said the child had died from heart failure, with no other illnesses. Then rumors started spreading that the tree had turned into a tree demon and claimed the child's life. Just this incident alone wouldn't have led villagers to spread such sinister rumors. But later, something else happened. About a month ago, a young person from the village was returning from the city during the night. As they passed by the big locust tree, they noticed a faint white light flickering in the direction of the tree. The young person looked closely and nearly lost their wits in fright. From the small temple under the tree, some white tentacle-like appendages extended, curling around a child and lifting it towards the big locust tree. The child seemed like a soul because her body was semi-transparent, swaying up and down in midair within the grasp of the tentacles. Upon closer examination, the young person realized that the child was the recently deceased little girl from the village. It seemed that her soul had been ensnared by the tree demon, leading to her demise. Terrified, the young person let out a scream and dashed back to the village. They hastily shared the incident with the villagers. Since then, news of the tree spirit turning into a tree demon spread in nearby villages. No one dared to let their children worship the godfather anymore. Gradually, people even stopped approaching the area. Incidents kept occurring in several nearby villages. Can you still doubt the truth of this matter? Big Gang's father smoked his cigarette and recounted various rumors from the village to Uncle Chen Lao Gu. No need to say more. Brother Lu, please look after Xiaobian for me. I have something to attend to. After listening, Uncle Chen Lao Gu lowered his head and pondered for a while, then made up his mind. He entrusted Chen Xiaobian to Big Gang's father, turned around, and left the house. He wanted to find out the truth about how this tree demon was snaring souls. Chen Lao Gu once again wandered near the large locust tree, found a big rock to sit on, lit up a pouch of dry tobacco, and spent quite some time observing the tree. However, he couldn't discern anything unusual about the tree. In frustration, Chen Lao Gu took a handful of glutinous rice from his pocket, scattering it on the ground as he drew a circle with the rice. Silently chanting a few words, the image of the large fox he had previously interacted with appeared in his mind. The large fox informed Chen Lao Gu that the big tree indeed had a long history and had accumulated some spiritual power over the years. Its cultivation had always been virtuous, and it had helped many people. However, the one causing trouble this time wasn't the big locust tree itself. Instead, it was another sinister creature that had established a lair beneath the roots of the big locust tree. This creature had coerced the tree into committing malevolent acts and it had fallen into the ways of dark magic. This creature had bound the spirits of children who had their birth details left on the tree during the Godfather ceremony. This was done to enable both the creature and the tree to evade celestial tribulations. Over time, the big locust tree had also gained some benefits from this arrangement and started assisting in causing harm. Call for Old Soul Bird tonight. Together, let's deal with it. When asked about the nature of this rogue creature, the fox only mentioned that it belonged to the Bai family. Nevertheless, Chen Lao Gu had a general understanding of the situation. But now that he was entangled in this matter, how could he stand idly by and allow these malicious creatures to harm people? Chen Lao Gu made all necessary preparations. He just needed to wait until nightfall. Please bestow blessings upon us, celestial beings. With offerings that could tempt even celestial beings, Chen Lao Gu knelt before the small shrine once again. After completing these actions, Chen Lao Gu pretended to leave, but in reality, he remained at a distance, circling the big tree. While circling around, he meticulously placed a series of boundary symbols according to the 4 cardinal directions. After making all the preparations, Chen Lao Gu positioned himself at the final cardinal direction, observing the small shrine from afar, waiting for the rogue creature to take the bait. Before long, as expected, a chilling breeze emanated from the small shrine, and 2 glowing yellow eyes appeared. As soon as Chen Lao Gu saw that the rogue creature took the bait, he bent down and affixed the final symbol to the ground. These 4 symbols could temporarily seal off the area, preventing any souls or spirits from entering. As expected, the boundary symbols took effect, and the rogue creature sensed it. The small shrine flickered, and the creature attempted to charge straight toward the big locust tree. However, Chen Lao Gu had made preparations. At this moment, the large fox had positioned itself between the big locust tree and the small shrine, completely blocking its path. The creature then tried to leap upward towards the tree's crown, but as soon as it made the attempt, it encountered a natural enemy, a night owl, perched on a branch. The owl's sharp, vigilant eyes stared directly at the creature. Don't even think about escaping. Ever since you began your malicious acts, you should have known this outcome was inevitable. In this way, all escape routes were blocked, and the creature was trapped within the small shrine. However, the creature showed no intention of remorse. It bared its fangs menacingly towards Chen Lao Gu. It's up to you now. Chen Lao Gu turned away indifferently. With a command, the large fox and the night owl charged towards the small shrine. Despite the creature's cultivation being no match, it continued to resist relentlessly. After dealing with the Bai family's creature, Chen Lao Gu didn't take action against the old locust tree. 1, because it was being coerced, and 2, he recalled its past blessings upon the people. He hoped it would continue on the path of righteousness. But sometimes, the will of heaven is difficult to evade. After the Bai family's creature was vanquished and the children's souls were freed, dark clouds suddenly gathered in the sky, pressing heavily above the big locust tree. Subsequently, a thunderbolt struck down, directly hitting the towering century-old locust tree. A sharp crack sounded as the entire tree was split in 2, bursting into fierce flames. It seemed that this celestial tribulation couldn't be avoided after all. Looking at the big locust tree, it was somewhat pitiable. The will of heaven cannot be defied. Up ahead. This is it, Dad. But why did you bring me here? Indeed, not far ahead, Chen Qiubian saw a charred wooden stake. Yet what was Chen Lao Gu's purpose in bringing him here? Why? There's a treasure here. What? A treasure? Really? Brother Chen, what are you up to? Taking a stroll with the child. Fishing again. Exactly. It's this. I've caught a couple for you. Well then, thank you in advance. What kind of treasure is Chen Lao Gu talking about? Stay tuned for the next installment. Treasures of the Bai family.